Hello, children. So, today we'll start with a new chapter, chapter number 4, Structure of the Atom. The topics to be covered in this chapter are the structure of an atom, how are electrons distributed in different orbits, valency, atomic number and mass number, isotopes, and isobar. Now, children, if you can recollect, you have already learnt about valency in the third chapter. In this chapter also, we will learn about valency in detail. You have to go through all those valency related videos. So let us start. Okay. Now, in the third chapter, we have already learned that atoms and molecules, they are the fundamental building blocks of matter. Okay. The existence of different kinds of matter around us is due to different types of atoms and molecules present inside them. Now, few questions that arises in our mind are: what makes the atom of one element different from the atom of another element? Are atoms really indivisible as proposed by Dalton, or are there smaller constituents inside the atom? The third chapter, we have already learnt about Dalton's atomic theory. Right? In that theory, Dalton proposed that atoms are indivisible. But later, it was found out that atoms are divisible. Okay? So his theory was a failure. So I can answer that atoms are divisible and they do have an inner structure. In simple words, I can say that atom has smaller particles or subatomic particles inside them. Now children, in this chapter, you will learn about subatomic particles and the various models that have been proposed by the scientist to explain the arrangement of these subatomic particles inside the atom. Now, a major challenge before the scientists at the end of 19th century was to reveal the structure of atom and to explain its important properties. Now, one of the indication that atoms are divisible comes from studying static electricity. Now, like I said, atoms are made up of subatomic particles, that is protons, neutrons and electrons. Now, few activities were performed, and from that they came to know that some charged particles are present inside the matter. Let's find out. Now, if we rub a comb on dry hair and if we bring that comb near to some pieces of paper, what will happen? The comb will attract the pieces of paper. Similarly, okay, if I rub a glass rod, okay, with a piece of silk cloth, and then if I bring that glass rod near to an inflated balloon, what will happen? The glass rod will attract the inflated balloon. Now over here, the question is, what is happening? Now, we have already learned that electrically charged object attracts uncharged object. Now, what is happening in case of comb? When we are rubbing comb on dry hair, so the comb becomes electrically charged. And when we bring this electrically charged comb near to uncharged pieces of paper, what is happening? Attraction is taking place. Same with the case of glass rod. When we rub glass rod with this silk cloth, what is happening? The glass rod becomes electrically charged. And when we bring this electrically charged glass rod near uncharged inflated balloon, what happens? Attraction takes place. Right? The question is, how does this charge take place, or where does this charge arise from? So the answer is obvious. The charge comes from the particles, or comes from the particle that are present inside the atom. Okay, it means some particles, some charged particles are there inside the atom, and that is what is producing this electric charge. So this was one indication which tells that atoms are divisible. So electron has negative charge, proton has positive charge, and neutron has no charge. It is neutral. Now these protons and neutrons are present inside, that is at the center of the atom, and electrons, they revolve rapidly outside. So we will learn in detail about this center of atom and how electrons are revolving outside. Now we will learn about discovery of electrons. Okay, so this existence of electron was revealed or was found out by J.J. Thomson in the year 1897. Now, for this experiment, Thomson used a discharge tube. Now, you can compare this discharge tube with tube light. Right? Our tube light is made up of glass and it is coated with some fluorescent material. So when electricity passes through this fluorescent material, it gets illuminated. Now the end of the glass tube light, it has two metal plate. So you can compare this discharge tube with the tube light. Even this discharge tube is made up of glass and it has two metal plates. One is cathode, another is anode. Now the anode is perforated. It means it has holes. Okay. Then the cathode is connected to the negative terminal of the battery and anode is connected to the positive terminal of the battery. Okay. This discharge tube, it has an opening and that opening is connected to vacuum pump. Okay, so this was the setup of discharge tube. Now Thomson over here, he used hydrogen gas and this gas was passed through the discharge tube. Now when he passed hydrogen gas, no changes, nothing happened inside the discharge tube. So then what he did, he reduced the pressure of the gas. Okay, through the vacuum pump, he reduced the pressure and he increased the voltage. By doing this, by reducing the pressure and increasing the voltage, Thomson saw a beam of light coming from cathode and moving towards anode. Okay, he saw a beam of light coming from cathode and moving towards anode. Now he wanted to confirm whether this beam of light is coming from cathode or it is coming from anode. Now behind anode there was a screen and that screen was coated with fluorescent material. Okay, so when this So when he passed the gas, that is when he reduced the pressure of the gas and when he increased the voltage, what happened? He saw a beam of light, and at that time the fluorescent material, it started illuminating. Now it is obvious, if the screen behind anode is illuminating, it means the beam of light or the ray is coming from cathode and it is moving towards anode. And so he named this ray or beam of light as cathode ray. Okay, so when electricity is passed at high voltage through a gas at a very low pressure, it produces cathode rays. Now Thomson wanted to study the nature, okay, of this beam of light or ray of light. So for that, you know what he did? He changed the gas. He took some other gas, and when he passed some other gas, he got the same thing. He got this cathode rays. And then he took two metallic plates, okay, and he placed this metallic plates above and below the discharge tube. And then he took the gas, reduced the pressure, increased the voltage. By doing this, he got a beam of light. And this time the beam of light, it got deviated. It got deviated towards the positively charged metal plate. Okay, over here you can see a deviation. The beam of light, it moved or it got attracted towards the positively charged metal plate. Now from this he confirmed that this beam of light or this cathode ray, it contains negatively charged particles. How? We already know that unlike charges attract each other. Okay, over here the beam of light is getting attracted towards positively charged. So definitely the beam of light contains negative, because negative positive, it will attract. Okay, so from that he confirmed that the beam of light or cathode ray contains negatively charged particle. Now children, the mass and charge of this cathode ray, it does not depend on the nature of gas that is taken in the discharge tube. And then he named this negatively charged particle as electron. Okay, the electron is a negatively charged particle found in the atoms of all the elements. And this electron is represented by the symbol E minus. Over here E means electron and minus means negative charge. Okay, so this is how electron was discovered. I hope you have understood today's lecture. In the next video, we will learn about discovery of protons, discovery of neutrons. Okay, I hope you have understood, children. Thank you.